It's being done. Brian Petrie coming weekly Wednesday takes. Not a gamble when I ramble. All my slime balls we parlay. We just stick to the money. The tickets no funny. The chalkboards get in the bag. Nothing to stage. Stop in the cage. Needed a chin and he lay on the mat. It's Wednesday takes. Making Wednesday great. You'll see in MMA. Big gun Brian. No denying where he be and what he say. Word of my cappers. We speak facts from start to finish. What's the weight? The value boys we showing love. CGI dub is Wednesday takes.
Hey, Wednesday takes. What's up? What's up with the what's up, babe? We're doing a Wednesday takes here. A little bit of a recap, a little bit of a better recap. A couple little things we want to touch on in the MMA world. I do have some notes. Let me pull my notes up. I asked a social media question, a Twitter question, whatever you want to call it, over the week. And you guys responded in kind. So we'll go over that as well. And then I end the show with a preview of the Bellator UFC because we are blank this week. We had 2 weeks of decent fights. I mean, they weren't crowd. We had a month off. Then we had the January 14th card, which was okay. I had a good night betting. We had the pay-per-view, which was actually really good. And now we got a week off. And then we got to fucking February 4th, 10 a.m. start time for the prelims for the East Coast boys. I'll get into that. But the month of February, the month of March, oh my gosh. Oh my God. That is some fights right there. So I want to go over my betting recap. Slime ball parlay. Slime forever. Nailed it this week, boys. You doubted me. I doubted myself. It was a very low number at plus 132. So I'm not going to get too excited. 1-1 in the year. We even things up, bitch. I had Gabriel Bonfrey. I had Jessica Andrade. I had Gilbert Burns. All dominated. I would say all finishes. No, Jessica Andrade should have finished over Lauren Murphy. She did not. But I had fucking my double mortar lock of Gilbert Burns with inside the distance. I want to apologize to all the people for my newbie brain. Last week when I recorded the podcast, I was rushing through it. Whatever. I recorded on a Monday. It doesn't matter. There's no excuse for how big of an idiot I am. There's a commenter, Aaron S, on the YouTube channel. Thank you for pointing it out. And then my boy Christian said, dude, you got to quit saying same game parlay. It's driving me fucking nuts. So what I said, which was wrong, was I said my double mortar lock, you're going to put Gilbert Burns money line, and then you're going to take him inside the distance. Well, you can't do that on any book. They already have lines set aside for that. Inside the distance, Gilbert Burns winner. You got to pick a way for him to finish, yada, yada. So I apologize for being dead wrong on that. I ended up playing Gilbert Burns by finish, by submission, and him money line in my parlay. So I got him every which way. It was a very good night for your boy. The only bet I lost, the two bets I did lose. So I went 11-4 my picks. I didn't bet all my losses though, but Lacerda, which I thought was going to be a complete different fight. Very close fight. Don't think it was a robbery by any means. I like Lacerda in that spot. Thought it was going to be more of a ground fight. It was not, right? Cody Stamann inside the box the whole time. Missed on that. Pretty big underdog. Missed on Glover as well. That was another one that I missed on. Glover was my dog lock. I just thought he'd be too much from Jamal Hill, and Jamal Hill's where we're going to start. This fucking guy, huh? This guy, right? So here's a guy, his 14th pro fight. I believe I tweeted out 13th. I was wrong. This going into the Glover fight was his 14th pro fight. And early on in his career, admittedly, he said he didn't take it as seriously as he should have. He hired a nutritionist for this camp for 3 weeks. Short notice in Brazil, fighting a Brazilian, probably his swan song. So he's going out, full guns a-blazing. You don't give a fuck. You get on that plane, sit in economy on the way there for 16 hours or whatever the fuck it is, and you go on short notice and fight your toughest stylistic matchup, in my opinion, at 205, excuse me. And you go out there and you just bludgeon them. I mean, there's some moments like you got taken down. You showed, or I keep saying you, like I'm talking to Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill showed a lot in this fight. Short notice, 5-round cardio, check, right? He got tired, but he never slowed down to a point where it was a problem, right? Stuffed all the early takedowns of Glover in that first round. Stuffed. I think there were 6 attempts. Glover landed 2 takedowns in the entire fight. Both times Jamal Hill worked his way back to his feet. Very impressive. Piece Glover up. Glover's a good boxer. I mean, that's not what he's known for nowadays. He is 43 years old. I get that, but pieced him up on the feet. Hurt him a bunch of times. Tried to finish the show. Couldn't. And every time he hurt him, he switched the stances up and hurt him with that left high kick and tried to get him out of there. And Glover was just like, Glover knew this was my last run. You ain't put me out on my last run, right? You were basically fighting a superhuman at that point. But everything this guy's done, from his confidence to what he's done so far, and it's only going to get better because now he's got that championship money. Now he's going to be able to put money towards his camp, towards the thing, because he comes from a small gym in Grand Rapids. I think his coaches are great. The nutritionist he hired is a famous nutritionist that works with a lot of athletes. But he's from a small camp. There's no doubt about it. He's not from a mega gym, right? Which is kind of good. These small camps are kind of popping up places where it focuses on your fighter. Like Tai Tuivasa has now left, AKA left. I believe he's did a stint in American Top Team, but he has a whole camp dedicated to him. That's what you have to do as an athlete. Get some of that championship money, bring some people in to help you with different styles. Like if you fight Ankalaev, bring in a fucking Dagestanian bearded motherfucker, take you down over and over again, right? Jan Blachowicz, bring in a guy with some weird Polish power and, weird jokes. But you know what I mean? So like Jamal Hill, God, it was just, I'm blown away. I'll never doubt him again. I just can't. I just can't doubt him again after the Glover fight. Now I know everyone's saying, "Oh, you're overhyping it. Glover's 43, this and that, blah blah blah." Right, but I picked Glover, right? So I was wrong, and I was wrong on Jamal Hill, which I'll never beat. And typically, I have admitted to this that I am very biased with picking guys that I like. If I like you, I'm gonna pick you. And I sat here last week on the pick. I'm saying I really like Jamal Hill. I like him a lot. I think this dude is great. His confidence, everything. I like this guy, but I'm picking Glover. I put that aside and chose the wrong side. But again, I thought it was a tough matchup with Jamal Hill, and he proved me wrong. Just unfucking believable performance by Jamal Hill there. Just complete heart and skill, and he's going to get better. 14 pro fights, 31 years old. Now he's getting some real money. I know he's got 6 kids. That's a lot of kids, man. I got 2. Couldn't handle another one. He's got 4 more than me. But I think the guy's a real deal, and if you look at 205, some guy was like, oh, let's see him knock out some young guns. Okay. Young gun, Jimmy Crute knocked him out. Johnny Walker, not necessarily a young gun, but a big, tall striker that, won on this week, knocked out Paul Craig. He knocked him out. Who else is at 205 that's young? No one. They're all about 30, 31. You look at Ankalaev. Ankalaev can grapple. He's shown that in the Blachowicz fight, right? He can grapple. He can smother you on top. He's primarily a striker, but he can do that if he wants. Jan Blachowicz has proven to wrestle guys like, Yuri, Izzy Adesanya, Then you got Yuri. He's a fucking wow, man. What is Yuri going to do, right? He said that video. I'm coming.
I'm coming.
I'm coming. I mean, that is just, you're just releasing that to the world, to use. I'm going to use it. Next time I'm having sex with my wife, I'm going to go, I'm coming. Scare the shit out of her. She's not going to know what the fuck to do. But Yuri Prochazka versus Jamal Hill is a fight that I really want to see. I know people like Alex Pereira. I sent the Twitter question out, which we'll go over. The one fight you need to see in 2023, what is it? A lot of people said Pereira, Jamal Hill, which I think is great. People zoomed in on Pereira's face when Jamal Hill was shaking his hand. There's obviously a little bit of a story there. Pereira can make 205, no problem. He'd be a huge 205er because the guy's massive, right? That's a fun fight. And even Jamal did an interview and said, if he wants it, come get it. He's not afraid of anybody. I love the confidence. I love the skill. And I think he is set up at 205 pounds to do a lot of damage. There's not any pure wrestlers. Like if he cut that 185, he's going to have to deal with like Chimaev, who's coming up. You have to deal with fucking Bo Nickel. You want to deal with Bo Nickel's wrestling? You don't want to deal with those problems. So stay at 205. You're not going to have any problems. There's no one. There's a bunch of older guys that have one, let's look at the list. I'm going to look at the list. I had it memorized, but I'm going to look at it. I didn't have it memorized. But I'm going to look at the list because you know what? That's what we do here. All right. Listen to 205. Jamal Hill, Yuri Prochazka. You're number 1, obviously, former champ. That's got to happen. Then you got Magomed Ankalaev and Jan Blachowicz. Those are the 2 guys, in my opinion, that could give Jamal Hill some problems. Ankalaev proved to be a good grappler in the Blachowicz fight. Blachowicz has proven to be a big, strong grappler when he needs to be. Problem is I think his takedowns are average, and he's almost 40 years old. He is getting up there in age. So that'd be really interesting. Blachowicz would have to force a stand with Jamal Hill. And I'm not saying no one can stand with Jamal Hill. He obviously makes some devastating mistakes. Chin in the air, leans back a lot, but he is very dangerous in his striking. He lets it go. He's not afraid of anybody, which makes him fucking scary himself. Then you got Alexander Rakic, who blew his knee out. Not really worried about him sitting at 4. Glover at 5. He's done. He's retiring. Anthony Smith, interesting. People keep throwing out. I think Anthony Smith gets fucking butchered. He missed weight as a backup. Thought he looked like he was in terrible shape. Feel like this guy has one foot out. I feel like he is not a full-time fighter anymore. He's great on Bisping's podcast. He's great on the desk. He's very analytical. He's smart, well-spoken. I think he's got one foot out, so I don't see Smith being a problem. Nikita Krylov, been around forever. He's only 30 years old. That guy's just like a grinder. He's 7 right now. Maybe he needs to work a little bit to get up there, but you got Johnny Walker, already got knocked out by him. Volkan Ozdemir, don't know how this guy's still ranked. Ryan Spann, interesting guy here. Big knockout power, but he's sitting at 10. He's going to need to get a big win. They got Paul Craig, just got knocked out, who has a win over Jamal Hill, right? That's the interesting thing is Paul Craig has a win over Jamal Hill in X Live, but Paul Craig's got to win these fights. He just got knocked out by Johnny Walker. You're not getting a Jamal Hill spot sitting at 11 coming off a knockout. Dominic Reyes, that guy's career might be toast. Jimmy Crute already got knocked out, and he's dealing with that leg thing. Clear Roundtree Jr., who is not young, but is an interesting striker. He's at 14. Don't see him getting there. And then Dustin Jacoby, kind of the outlier. Dustin Jacoby is kind of the guy who couldn't make some noise, but he is a kickboxer. He's been knocked out by Pereira. He hasn't blown me away so far what he's done at 205 pounds. He's fought some tough guys, but I think they're just, average dudes. All right, so let's go over the entire card. I told you the slime ball hit 1-1 on the year, went 2 or 3 on my locks, hit my mortal, double mortal, which I didn't count as double, but double mortal lock hit, Burns, and then burned by finish. And then got my send him home, which is Jalton. I made it, which is like the easiest thing in the world. And then we got a dog lock Glover Tech share, which I missed. So missed on the dog lock 2 or 3. We already went over Glover and Jamal Hill. Now, a guy wanted me to address the Moreno thing, which I was going to, obviously. Why did I switch to Brandon Moreno? So I sent out a tweet and I texted the group chat at the end of California, I'm switching to Moreno. And I did have a dream about Moreno. We weren't playing Legos, but I did have a dream. He was wearing a Lego shirt, incredibly nice guy. We're at some like convention or whatever like that. It was a weird dream for sure. I don't really dream about MMA that much, so that's why it was very interesting. But I had a dream, and then it was Thursday. I had already done my show, already picked. I'm at work, and I'm listening to other podcasts I listen to. I only listen to a handful of MMA podcasts, and everyone was making a good case why you should pick Moreno. Now, I never, ever really let people sway me. I don't tell people, right? I tell myself. But there's some people out there who are very good at what they do, and they swayed me a little bit. So I looked at it more and what they were saying. Deiveson Figueiredo, 35 years old, has been off for a year. Weight cut has been an issue in the past. So what's his weight cut like? Is he cutting too much too early? All this stuff, right? Moreno's been active, has looked good in the Kai Kara France fight. Obviously won and is training with high level guys, 29 years old, kind of entering his prime right now. They match up well, but the one big sticking point for me is that Deiveson didn't go to Arizona, which I know might not mean anything. Christian's a firm believer. Camps don't mean shit. Camp switches don't mean shit. But when he went to Arizona, he was such a patient, in shape fighter in that Moreno fight. And he said the reason he didn't go was because he was too lonely. Next time, if he goes, he's going to go bring his family because he was just too lonely. That loneliness, that builds that hunger, that builds that work ethic. And I just don't think he had that. He stayed in Brazil, which makes sense. You're fighting in Brazil. I get it. But all that added up. I'm like, and with the dream of Moreno, I'm like, I got to go Moreno here. And I switched my pick to Moreno. I did not bet this fight. I stayed away. I didn't have the best read on it. If I flip flop on stuff, I ain't betting it. So I didn't bet it, but I had Moreno as a pick and he ended up hitting there. Obviously, I thought he was going to win by decision. He ended up winning with that punch, which was as clean as fucking day. Hey, you thumb in the eye. Sorry about your luck. And Deiveson closed his eye up and then just got pounded. But Moreno was dominating that fight. Moreno really mixed in takedowns early. Deiveson looked a step behind. And when he took off his gloves, I thought he was retiring, right? 35 pounds in Brazil, 35 years old in Brazil, but he's retiring from the weight class. He's going up to 35, which makes sense. He is a big 25er. He's going to be a little short for 135. There's some taller guys up there, but I think if he adds the right size on, he's going to be a problem up there. He's still got devastating power, and I think his power is going to carry, and I think his chin will carry too without cutting on this drastic weight to 125. So that was a switch up from Moreno. Basically, I had a dream, and I listened to some other people kind of convince me otherwise, which rarely happens. I rarely listen to other people, and if they're disagreeing with me, I go, oh, I'm on the right side. I'm on the right side of this. Your boy's confident in himself. But in this instance, I'm like, man, they're making some really good points that I didn't even think about, right? So that was essentially why I picked Moreno, and good thing I did. But I mean, again, Didn't bet him, didn't win any money, so it is what it is. And then Jessica Andrade versus Lauren Murphy. Woo! What an ass beating, right? Jessica Andrade, just a stud. One of my favorite fighters, unbelievable fighter. She went in there and pieced up Lauren Murphy. Huge number. Thought it was getting a KO. We weren't. Should have been stopped, in my opinion. Lauren Murphy is coming out of the fence. She's saying everyone's being, what is the word she said? Biased maybe because she's a woman and she's protecting her corner and everything. She's glad they didn't stop it, whatever. I get that, right? You're never going to throw your corner on the bus. You're a fighter. Your job is to fight, right? And then the one thing that bothered me, she compared to the Joanna fight. She said, oh, Joanna had a huge lump on her head, but they let that fight continue. The Yana Wei Lee fight, Joanna was winning that fight. Joanna might have won on some people's eyes. A very close fight. You were down 2 rounds, 10-8 rounds, in my opinion. You've never had a third round finish. You shouldn't have been going out there in the third round to get lumped up even more. I know you're a warrior. I know you're tough, and that's great. But Osiris Meyer is a fucking brain dead idiot just standing there going, oh, I wonder when I can go get a fucking snack. He didn't give a fuck about you, right? And your husband's in the corner. I thought maybe that would happen, but maybe, listen, some of these fighters, though, they'll look at their corner in the eye. And I've seen this myself on the amateur level, let alone these fucking professional fighters, right? And they go, I don't care if I die. Do not stop this fight, right? But as a cornerman, you take the responsibility to make your fighter mad to stop the fight for the well-being, right? I mean, that's the important point to make here. And Lauren Murphy's 40, right? I don't think she's ever going to reach the top again at 125, unfortunately. She does have a big win over Miesha Tate, but she looks so slow and lethargic in there, and I just don't think she's got it anymore, right? I think she's got some maybe fun fights here and there. She's obviously durable and obviously tough, and a lot of those shots would have knocked anybody else out. But getting up there in age and just looked a little slow to me. But Andrade is an absolute stud. Gilbert Burns, double mortal lock, got the finish. Should have played submission a little harder than I did. Kind of painted the board on that one because I did think he could knock out Neil Magny, but the minute it hit the ground, Gilbert Burns just light years ahead of Neil Magny. I saw what he was setting up a mile away, and Neil just couldn't do anything about it. Gilbert Burns is elite. Now what you do at 170, right? So all accounts are, we just talked about this. I just finished Anik and Florian. That'll be out either today or tomorrow. We just talked about this. What do you do at 170, right? So we're assuming Chimaev is still at 170, even though the pictures I've seen of him recently, he looks absolutely huge. He missed 170 drastically last time out. So I got to imagine 185 is where he's going to end up because he's a big guy anyway. 185 is where he's going to be. But let's just say for fun, for the argument's sake, that Chimaev's sticking around. I think you go because Edwards and Usman are going in March and April, right? That's a done deal. I think you go Chimaev Bilal because Bilal has called for that fight numerous times. And he has called for that fight numerous times. And I think that's a fight. That's a fun fight for the fans. That's a fight people want. I think it's a fight that they both match up well with each other. Bilal's takedown defense is unheard of. Really curious to see how that fight goes. Then you go Colby Burns. That's what you got to do. I know a lot of people want Chimaev Burn or Chimaev Colby. I'm fine mixing matching with either of those, but unfortunately, I do think Chimaev is going up. So there's going to be an odd man out there. I think Bilal has done enough to get a shot at the title. So if he wants to wait for the winner of Edwards Usman, probably not going to be a quick turnaround. So he might have to take one more fight. Then I would like the Burns fight or the Colby fight. Colby's been like radio silent. I think Colby's should be the odd man out. Burns has had a shot, lost to Usman. Colby's had a shot twice, lost to Usman. If Edwards beats Usman again, then we're talking wide open division, right? Usman shouldn't get a third shot unless he wins. And there's a lot of moving parts here. But Bilal, final decision. Bilal Burns, Colby out. Bilal Burns, Colby out. What has Colby done? Right? He's only lost the champion. You got to win some fights here, not George Masvidal. And Masvidal, people are throwing in there too. Come on, I saw a picture of George Masvidal or video. Excuse me. I think it was on someone's Instagram or Twitter. Chunky monkey. He's not looking in shape at all. That guy got paid and that guy got fat. I don't see him being a contender anymore. I know the Leon Edwards shit. He punched Leon Edwards in the back years ago. They're trying to make that fight. I don't think he's being a contender anymore. Gabriel Bonfim versus Manuel Lazez. Bonfim brothers 2-0 in the night. Gabe was supposed to be the the better brother. I think Ishmael's the better brother. Gabe was a little wild in there. His chin was up in the air a little bit in that bump in the Lanez fight, but he got that guillotine, which was sick. Ishmael knocked out Terrence McKinney. Little bad blood on Terrence McKinney's part with Barstool Sports. Love Barstool Sports. Don't necessarily love Robbie Fox over at Barstool, who does the MMA coverage. I know there's that guy Jack who does it too. So it all started with Terrence McKinney. So picture them at a stare down, and someone said, "Who's betting against Terrence McKinney, or who would bet?" Blah blah blah. And the Barstool guy Jack said, "Oh well, I will. I'm picking the other guy." And then Terrence McKinney chimed in and said, "Oh yeah, it's because Barstool Sports doesn't know sports." And then he lost, right? And then Barstool, Robbie posted a blog, whatever you want to call it, with a picture of him getting knocked out, which was, and it was, I know a lot of people are very upset about it on Twitter. There's, you don't want to disrespect a fighter, not especially after this got knocked out, right? That's not cool. It's something I would never have done. But I read the article, wasn't as bad as maybe some people made it seem to be. Yeah, it was a little tone deaf and maybe insensitive. Robbie, I think, has since apologized. But yeah, Terrence McKinney has doubled down and says, fuck Barstool Sports. And Dave Portner commented on it as well and said, hey, we need to get these MMA guys on our side. You know what I mean? Like, they're fucking crazy. Well, Dave, give me a call. I can help you out with that. Robbie Fox, my problem with Robbie Fox is, here's a guy that is an MMA fan, but I think he's a Conor McGregor fan. He came in during the Conor stuff. I think he knows fighting, but he doesn't bet on it, right? He's obsessed with wrestling, professional wrestling, cool. Obsessed with like comic books, Marvel, stuff like that. If you put a gun to Robbie Fox's head and you go, it's a Saturday night, the new fucking Marvel movie gets released, you get tickets. WWE WrestleMania is here, you get tickets. Or UFC, John Jones versus Francis Ngannou. Because that's the fight everyone wants to see right now, right? You get tickets. What are you picking? UFC is going to be last on that list. It's going to go probably comic book wrestling or wrestling comic book switches. UFC is going to be last. I don't like a guy getting paid writing articles about fighters when that gets put last, right? You know what I mean? Barstool, I love Barstool. They need to have a guy in there that gambles and knows the sport, can make it fun, and doesn't put anything over the sport, because that's me, right? And this is my job interview apparently for Barstool Sports. No, but I actually don't think the article was that bad. People are attacking Robbie Barstool on MMA Twitter. MMA Twitter streets are tough. Chopman Boxing came after me like 2 weeks ago because I posted a video or a little clip I make of me going on Manpreet a few weeks ago or whatever. I posted it, and he screen grabbed a clip from me on his show like 2 years ago and said, "Oh, like all his friends are coming out now." Like it was a nice little back and forth. Hey, Troutman, you didn't get me, bud. Okay, you didn't get me. You didn't get me like you're getting all these other people. I guess because he's went after all these other people and they all block him. You ain't gonna get me to block you, bud. It ain't gonna happen. I don't block anybody, right? And I think I won that exchange too. So big dub this way. Big dub. All right. Josiah Nunez versus Serafan. Josiah Nunez, little fucking fire hydrant tank. Shogun. Mad respect to Shogun going out on a shield. Topuria. Was that not Topuria? Poteria with his little, he says it was respectful. He said it was me doing my little dance and it was a duel and I can fire at you, but I decided to fire in the air instead. Fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. You just knocked out Shogun in Brazil. Your first UFC win, your only UFC win. If I had to guess, it's the only fight he's ever going to win. And you do that shit, right? Come on, man. And then you cut a promo, with your post fight. You're not making any new fans, bro. You're becoming public enemy number one. I hope they feed him. Jalton Almeida cuts down to 205 and they feed him Jalton Almeida. Just get this dude get set straight. You know what I mean? There's gonna be some Brazilian guys coming from this dude's head. I can tell you that right now. To me, listen, it's a fight, right? I'm not super sensitive about the fight game. I've said my fair share about fighters or whatever, but knocking a guy out in Brazil in his retirement fight in a legend the way he is, and then doing the stupid dance, even if it was respectful or not, maybe not do that on this one. Maybe do it on your next one. But he probably knew this was the only time he's ever going to win in the UFC because he stinks. And he probably was like, well, I got to show off this cool move I learned or got or whatever. And he dances for shit. It's terrible. So is what it is. But Shogun, right off in the sunset, you Hall of Famer son of a bitch. We already went over to McKinney. Jalton Almeida, golly. Why go to 205 again? You know, he is a 205-pound fighter, but he's up at heavyweight. He weighed 232. He's a big boy. He got outweighed by 30 pounds. It doesn't fucking matter. He was tossing Shamil around. He's incredibly strong. He's quick. He's athletic. He's good on the ground. My biggest critique, if you want to call it that, is he was hunting so much for that submission in round 1 that he wasn't throwing any punches. Once he started throwing punches, everything started opening up, and then you can get the finish that way. It looked like he went in there knowing, hey, I'm a jiu-jitsu black belt, and I'm going to get a submission from my Brazilian fans over a guy who had only been submitted one time, I think, maybe 0 times, maybe only one time, I think. So he was looking for that, right? And Shamil was obviously, there's a couple head arms and whatever, and he defended well. And then once he started to mix up his punches, which were heavy, that's how you're going to get him out of there, right? But Jonathan Almeida is a fucking problem at heavyweight. We talked about this in the Foreign. What do you do? I think Jairzinho Rozenstruik, ranked number 9, Jonathan's number 14. Throw him to the Wolves. Get him in there, right? Let him win the heavyweight belt, and if he decides that, pop down to 205. This kid's a problem. This kid is a real problem. Muscles on top of muscles. He's kind of built like Deontay Wilder. You ever seen Deontay Wilder? Deontay Wilder weighs like 219 pounds sometimes, 220 pounds, right? And he's tall and he's lanky and he's got really skinny legs. And I don't think Jonathan has the skinny legs like Deontay, but Deontay's upper body, he's fucking shredded, right? He's not as big as like Anthony Joshua, like thickness, but Deontay Wilder shred. This guy reminds me a little bit of Deontay Wilder build. He's obviously not 6'8" or 6'10" or however the fuck tall Deontay is, but yeah, it reminds me of that. He's a thinner guy at 205, but he's fucking beefy as well. Where they have is Nicholas Darby, close fight. Some guy said that, I had Dalby. I had him to win by decision in a little lottery parlay, which I hit, so I'm glad it won. Underdog played there. Luan Lacerda versus Cody Stamann. I talked about this a little bit. I thought Lacerda won, but it was a bad read on my part. I thought they would grapple a little bit more. Cody stayed away from the grappling, but he's got his body just kicked the fuck up. His body got tossed up. Daniel Marcos or Samuel Oliveira had no read on this fight. Marcos ended up destroying Oliveira. Oliveira just threw 20 spinning back fists. Oh, what you doing, bruh? And then you got Thiago Moises, who just Mel Costa just butchered Mel Costa. Mel Costa, you put him in there with a striker, I think he's interesting. I think he's going to have some fun. But again, that's a tough debut against Thiago Moises. Your takedown defense and your ground game defense isn't great. Thiago Moises by submission did it. And then Bruno Ferreira, first round knockout, plus 700. Your boy hit that. Again, I've lost. I don't want to celebrate too much on that one. I didn't share the ticket or anything. I shared it with the boys. I shared it with John Anik and them. But RoboCop's been knocked out by Jordan Williams. And I have lost more money because I can't get over that knockout on RoboCop than I won on this spot. So I can't really celebrate too much. It was a very little baby bet. But yeah, it's nice getting that read in there, nice getting that plus 700 add to the fucking sheet, babe. So that was UFC 283. Again, we're blank this week. Let me go to the Twitter question of the week. And a ton of responses. I don't think I can get through all of them just because, airtime, dead air. All right. Wednesday takes. I said, Wednesday take question of the week. In 2023, what is the one, people sent me more than one, what is the one fight you have to see happen? I'll talk about the answer of the show. So what I meant to say there was I'll probably break down what I think is going to happen on the show or what I would think on the show. So my first response was a good friend of mine, Josh Cornetta, buddy of mine in my wedding. I was in his wedding, good friend, lives in Jersey City. So his response was Brian Petrie versus AJ Green. Now, for all my old school MMA Takes fan, which I don't think there's many of you, this started as a website. And it started with, that comment started with years ago when we lived together. I'd been boxing in the basement. I had literally like 10 people over in my basement boxing. We all lived together. And Wayne Rooney, the Manchester United soccer player, was like a tough guy, right? That's what they said. And I was like, I'd kick his ass. They're like, there's no way you kick Wayne Rooney's ass. I said, what? He's a little guy, can beat the shit out of him. What are you talking about? They're like, no way, right? No way. Years after that, the video came out of Wayne Rooney boxing in his garage, or excuse me, his kitchen, getting just knocked the fuck out.
Oh!
Right? Okay, so I won that argument. Fast forward to years later, I'm 31 years old. This is about 5 years ago. 31 years old, had the website, and they were talking about another tough soccer player, Diego something. And I said, oh, I kick his ass. And they're like, nah. And I was like, remember the Wayne Rooney argument? They're like, yeah, but this guy's like really tough. He's like jacked. I was like, and this is what I said. I said, I could beat up any professional athlete that's not a fighter, boxer, etc., any in the combat sports. I could beat up any professional athlete under 200 pounds that is not a fighter or whatever. And my buddy goes, there's no way. You're wrong. And I said, okay, yeah, I can. He said AJ Green. He was like 196, 195, played for the Bengals, wide receiver, was in the Cardinals this year. I said, yeah. Found a video of AJ Green boxing at a boxing gym in Cincinnati, hitting mitts. Terrible. Just absolute dog shit. I sent that to him. And I said, this guy can beat me? He goes, yes. Then he doubles down and says, the punter, any professional athlete, any realm can beat me. So it's like Shaun White, professional snowboarder, who's an Olympian, can beat me. You know what I mean? What are we talking about here? The punter on the Bengals can beat me, right? And he goes, yes. Andy Dalton, quarterback at the time. I've seen Andy Dalton in person. Not that big of a dude, right? I know redheads have magical powers, but I was like, you think Andy Dalton, professional athlete, quarterback, right? High-level athlete, millions of, he beat, yeah. So I couldn't win. So I'm losing to all of these. So he said Brian Petrie, AJ Green, 36 years old, out of shape. I'm still taking AJ Green down like it's nothing, baby. Like it's nothing. That's my answer. Zhang Levers, Jessica Andrade's rematch. Jake Ford, shout out Jake Ford. He's been making some spreadsheets for me about all my picks and stuff like that. I like that. But as your number one fight all year, that's a tough sell, but I do like that rematch. We got Trinaldo, Chin Wolf, Bully B for the strap, Stipe versus Bones, and Aljo or Cejudo on my wish list for the year. So Bully B for the strap would be awesome. Edwards would be good because they have some history. Usman, tough fight, tough matchup. Bully B for the strap. I love Bilal, what he's doing. That's a great one. Stipe versus Bones. I know, I get it, right? Stipe's getting a little long in the tooth. Fights like once a year. Bones hasn't fought in forever. I'll give you my answer after Bones fight's gone, because if he just butchers gone, then Stipe versus Bones is something I might not want to see. If he struggles with gone, maybe even possibly loses, then it'd be interesting. And then Aljo versus Cejudo, which I think is an interesting fight. Cejudo's been off forever. I think Aljo can keep that standing and use his length and cause some problems for Cejudo in that fight. That's my read there. Chimaev for the belt. Pound the lines. Chimaev for the belt. Don't care about the opponent, but I prefer Usman. Chimaev is a lot of answers with Chimaev. I respect Chimaev a lot, but I don't know if he's at 70 anymore. Nathan Phillips MMA. I would love Chimaev versus Colby. That was, so Conor versus Chandler would also. Conor versus Chandler is going to happen for sure. I know that's happening without a doubt. That's a great matchup for Conor at 170. There's a lot of shit going on with Conor right now. Let's hope he makes the fight, but that's definitely going to happen. Colby versus Hosmot. Everyone wants that fight. That's John Anik's number one fight. That'd be very interesting. But again, I worry about Chimaev making 170, man. I don't know. Ian Matthew got Cheeto versus Sugar. Love that rematch. Gilbert versus Colby. Love that. Pereira versus Jamal Hill. A lot of Pereira versus Jamal Hill love, which I can understand, but I would actually prefer Yuri over Pereira right now, because Pereira's going to run it back with Izzy, right? And then I think Yuri and Jamal Hill in the summer is going to be an absolute blockbuster. Fucking Yuri thinks he's coming back in like July or August. I think International Fight Week. Boom, throw them together. Jailton Almeida, Tom Aspinall. I love that fight. Might be a little too early for that fight for both guys, but I do love that fight. Tommy Aspinall coming off a knee injury. I love Tommy Aspinall. He needs to get like one under his belt. He needs to fight someone after the injury. I don't want to get thrown into the wolves, but they might do that. I don't know. Jared Hostile put Bo Nickel was any top 10 opponent. I'm on the Bo Nickel train, baby. It's Bo time. Bo time. He's fighting Jamie Pickett in March, which I think that line is going to be minus 3,000. I gotta decide if Bo Nickel's going to knock him out, TKO him, or submit him. Whatever's a better line, I'm going to go with. Patty versus McKinney. Interesting. Patty has ankle surgery. McKinney just got knocked out. I think McKinney's a tough matchup for Patty. As long as Patty can survive that first round, McKinney does seem to fade a little bit. But Patty didn't look great his last time out. A lot of people threw Patty in this, which is surprising. Jarrett was the only one because it's interesting because he didn't look great. A lot of people thought he lost that fight. Now he's going to be out for a little bit with the ankle surgery. It's weird Patty didn't get as much love in this question I thought he would. Whitaker versus Chimaev, great fight at 185. I like that fight. That was from Danilo Collins. Doodle, Chimaev versus Covington. Division needs the answers to where Chimaev stands. A lot of Chimaev. Chimaev's a fucking star, babe. Already getting one. Merab versus Jan. That was announced. Merab versus Petrie. Stipe Jones, Izzy Alex rematch. Moreno Pantoja, Conor Chandler. So this guy's basically just getting all his wishes this year because I think all those fights are going to happen this year. Johnson Almeida versus John Jones are gone. Johnson Almeida getting thrown in there. I'm going outside the box in this one from Rosetta. Wally versus Valentina. That's a good one. Bones returns versus Gaethje versus Rafael. Colby versus Hazmat. A lot of Colby versus Hazmat. I'm trying to think if there's anyone that. Here we go. Pavlovich versus Blades. Two big boys going at it. Where's Pavlovich stand with his wrestling? You got your wrestling shoes on, Russian boy? Huh? You got your wrestling shoes on? Because Blades taking you down. And then you got Bo Nickel versus anybody, which I'm on that team too. Again, Team Bo. I need to get some Bo merch. I know they sell it. I need to get Jones versus Jones versus Francis, which we're not going to get. Drew Dober, Michael Chandler, interesting pick. And then Sugar versus Aljo, Whitaker versus Pereira. Whitaker versus Pereira, I thought would be a little bit more of an answer. That's interesting, right? If Izzy doesn't want it right away, how's Alex Pereira's wrestling? How is his takedown offense? We've seen it a little bit. He's big, right? He's been way bigger than when the Robert Whitaker. Robert Whitaker is going to be very outsized in that, but that doesn't mean you can't wrestle him, right? And Whitaker's wrestling is great. I don't think his submissions are great. He's going to have to pound him out, and Pereira's got to work to his feet. Here's what I love about Alex Pereira, right? I'm an Izzy guy. When Izzy got knocked out, it broke my heart. Lost a lot of money, but Pereira's chick or something on TikTok or Instagram or one of those things was sitting in the bed, and she wrote, trying to spend quality time with him or whatever, but he keeps watching his fights to figure out what he's doing wrong. And she pans over to Pereira, who's laying like this, right? Alex Pereira, murderer, laying like this on the bed with his cell phone against the pillow, watching himself fight. I don't know what fight it was, but he's figuring out his mistakes. Like, this guy is very analytical. He's 34, 35 years old. He knows his time's now. I kind of like that fucking psychopath mentality with just going, fuck it. I need to get better. All right, preview before we get out of here for Wednesday takes. Bellator. We're going to quickly go over Bellator. Ryan Bader versus Fedor. I think this is Fedor's final fight. Ryan Bader knocked him out earlier, a couple years ago. This is on February 4th at 6 p.m. So this is the same night as UFC, but the UFC is running later. So we should be able to get this one in before the UFC at least. Main event might be right when the prelims start. Johnny Eblin versus Anton Tokov. This is Anatoly Tokov, 31-3. This guy's got a hell of a record. Yeah, he's beating a fucking lot of people. Ramazan Mamiv, he lost a Missouri decision back in M1 challenge. But Johnny Eblin, great wrestler. Don't think he's had much of a problem with here. Complete manhandle Gegard Mousasi. Sabab Humasi versus Brennan Ward. I don't know why they keep, I feel like these guys fight each other every fucking pay-per-view or every event they put on. Two guys who get knocked out, who banging out, and they're stoning them, right? Sabab Humasi 17-10, 10 losses come by knockout probably. Ethan Hughes versus Yusuf Karlov, 3-0 versus 1-0. Banger. Diana Osagalvu, 8-0. I'm not going to do. Chris Gonzalez versus Max Rokoff. Max Rokoff, my guy, come back fighting Chris Gonzalez here at 155. Grant Neal versus Carl Albert. This guy's hair is fucking great. Average fighter. Henry Corrales versus Ahmed Magomedov. Is that it? Steve Mowry, Tall Steve fights on social media. Darren Caldwell's on this card as well. Lorenz Larkin, Neiman Gracie. Okay, so a decent little card for Bellator here. Fedor's final fight. You got to watch it. Now, we're going to go to the UFC, which starts at 10 p.m. Eastern for the prelims. And the main card starts at 1 a.m. Now, listen, as an East Coast guy, I want to sit here and scream to the rooftops, right? The road to UFC tournament finals, which was held in Singapore, is going to be on this night. So they're catering to the Asian market, which makes sense, right? But European fans put up with this every fucking weekend. So as much as I want to fucking gripe and say this card's weak, I'm not staying, I'm going to stay up. I'm going to be at 10 p.m. first fight to last fight, right? That's just going to be me. That's what I'm going to do. And yeah, so European fans, take a night off, enjoy the reasonably timed fights for you. But yeah, so let's go over the card. It is a thin card, though. I have done a little bit of research on Road to UFC because I have not watched all of them. We have 4 finals here, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4 finals. Main event, Derek Lewis or Sergey Spivak. We're getting it ran back from a couple weeks ago. Co-main event, Dong Jun versus Devin Clark. Keep throwing Devin Clarks in these fucking co-main events. Barsha Tabor versus Blagoy Ivanov. I just still love saying Blagoy. What a fucking name. What a scary name. This guy was stabbed like 400 times, still alive. One of the best chins in the game, and his name's Blagoy. Unbelievable. Korean Superboy, Doohoo Choi coming back versus Kyle Nelson. Yusaka Kiyashita? Fuck you. I don't know. Versus Adam Fugit. Kinoshita debut in the UFC in the Contender Series. Look great. Big knockout power. I like that kid in the Contender Series. Then we got the Road to UFC, which, again, don't know enough about these guys, but Ansel Jubli from India. We got Jaka Sarak from Indonesia. Sa Yi. Jongyong Lee. Sa Yi, I believe, is that Chinese or is that Mongolian? China. From China. Jongyong Lee is from Korea. We got Ryan Nakamura from Japan. And then we got Toshishima Kazuma versus Japan too. You know I love me some Japan fighters. And then Hong Sung Park, Korean versus Songguk Choi, Korean, 125, 135, 145, 155. I am sorry you had to listen to me pronounce those names, but that's the finals. I've seen Jubli from India fight. I've seen Jaka, who he's fighting, Jeka Sargi fight because he won by spinning knockout. I haven't seen anybody else, but I'm best believe I'm going to dive in. 2 Japanese guys going out at 135. Whew, I like that. Jung Young Kim versus Manny Bohm, Jung Young Park versus Dennis Tullman, and Tatsuro Taira versus Jesus Aguilar. Taira's my dude. And I think he's very wide right now. Should I place a live bet on Taira? We're going to DraftKings. We're going to find out. Do you think it's going to climb? Do you think it's going to get cheaper? Let's see here. Where are you at? All right. Can't find him. Is the line not out for him yet? No, it's got to be. Yeah, so he's not on DraftKings unless I'm completely missing it. All right, go to Best Fight Odds. Shout out Best Fight Odds. They usually got some. Hey, listen, they got the best fight odds. This is dead air a little bit here. I just want to know if I should place a bet on him. Yeah, Taira. Oh gosh, yeah, get minus 1,100 Bet MGM. He opened up on Caesars minus 1,100, minus 1,000 on Bet Rivers, and then minus 1,100 on FanDuel. Woo! I like that kid, but that is pricey, babe. All right, that is it. Go follow me on Brian Petrie MMA on all social medias. The DMs, the compliments, the interaction with all you beautiful people. Mwah! Thank you so much for everything. We're off this week. No fights this week. Unfortunately, my Bengals do play on Sunday. Going to the ship. And then that is it, baby. Yeah, that's it. Let's go.